Germany is preparing to create the largest army in Europe, and I believe this is a big mistake by Germany and NATO. After Germany lost in Second World War, Germany was divided into two. We had Western Germany and Eastern Germany. Western Germany was controlled by NATO, and Eastern Germany was controlled by the Soviet Union. Now, it got to a point they wanted Germany to unite. Under President Gorbachev agreed Germany reunification on the condition that Germany will not be allowed to recreate their army because of what Germany did in First World War and Second World War. Unlike what the West did to Germany in First World War, the Russians didn't do the same thing. In First World War, when Germany lost, the West took total control of Germany. In fact, they sanctioned their economy, destroyed their economy completely. Even in Africa, their colonies they had in Africa, the Western Europeans decided to take even their colonies in Africa. Typical example is Togo. Togo was once a colony of Germany. But when Germany lost in First World War, the British and French decided to divide Germany into two, right? That is how come we had Western Togo and Eastern Togo. Because of these economic measures by Western Europeans to weaken Germany completely gave birth to Second World War. So the Russians learned their lesson, not to destroy Germany economy completely. All what they wanted from Germany was for Germany to be disarmed. But economically, they allowed Germany to still operate. In fact, even the Russians were selling some of their resources to Germany. So the Russians never did to Germany what Western Europeans did to them. Here we are, Germany see Russia today as their enemy. In fact, Germany is where they are today thanks to Russia. Today we have one Germany thanks to Russia. And now they are violating this treaty. By the way, let's get into the details of this story. If you are enjoying this content, hit on the like button. It's very important to me. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. Note, this article is from Politico. Germany is preparing to create Europe's largest army. According to Politico, a secret memorandum leaked in Western media confirms the Bundeswehr request. These people, they have weird names. So, Bundeswehr requires a massive increase in personnel by 2029 and beyond. This involves nearly doubling the number of active units and more than tripling the territorial defense. According to German military leadership's plan, Germany must become Europe's leading conventional army, capable of waging high-intensity warfare alongside NATO. These guys are funny. So you are waiting for 2029. You see why I keep telling you guys that, Western Europeans are far. These guys are lacking behind completely. So by the time 2029 comes, you think the Russians will just be sitting down. So by the time you try to get to the level of the Russians, by then the Russians will be far gone. Let's continue. This is the expansion plan. Currently, the Bundeswehr has approximately 62,000 active soldiers and 37,000 in reserve. According to documents, this number should rise to 90,000 active soldiers and 64,000 reserve by 2029. By 2035, an additional 45,000 active soldiers and 15,000 in reserve are planned. I mean, come on. So, is this what they mean by, the biggest army? Note, the Russians have an army of more than 1.5 million even before this war began. Now, the Russians have an army of less than 2 million. And here you are, talking about 62,000 and 90,000. I mean, so by 2036, even by 2036, whatever they are planning on doing wouldn't be anything serious. By then, the Russians will be far gone, right? The primary focus is on territorial defense. As part of the Organization Plan Germany program, its number is expected to reach 138,000 including at least 9,500 new career soldiers. This will effectively create the largest component of the future army of Federal Republic of Germany. These guys are completely far from reality. Ukraine had an army of more than 1 million, and yet the Ukrainians are losing. So creating an army of 138,000 is nothing. Absolutely nothing. When Russia back in 2022 went to Kiev, they went in with over, I think, 135,000 or 140,000 soldiers. Just only Kiev operation alone. So if you have an army of 38,000, you've done nothing. It's absolutely nothing. You're not going to last more than 1 year if you should confront the Russians in any war. Let's continue. You see, I keep telling you guys that when it comes to the army, Western Europeans are nowhere close to the Russians. They are still lagging behind. Listen to this. Chancellor Friedrich Merz has promised to transform the Bundeswehr into the most powerful military force in Europe. 38,000 troops by 2036. And you think that 36,000 will be the most powerful or biggest army in Europe? Are you serious? Let's continue. However, these ambitions hide serious difficulties. The German army suffer from chronic recruitment problems. Approximately a quarter of new conscripts leave within first 6 months. So even with this 38,000 figure that we are talking about, it will be very difficult for them to even get this number. You see why I keep telling you guys that the Russians are built completely different. In Russia, their own people were running into the army. I hope you guys remember somewhere in 2022 when the Russians decided to mobilize around over 300,000 soldiers. They decided to even reject some because there were too many. I keep telling you guys that if the Russians are fighting for their survival, there is no amount of propaganda will change that. You look at their history, you realize that these guys, it's not about forcing them to go and fight. These guys want to protect their country at all costs, right? So this is the difference between the Russians and Western Europeans. Because people don't want to join the army, so this is what the German authority is trying to do. The authorities are already preparing a bill requiring all 18-year-olds to register for military service. Currently, it is voluntary, but the documents provides for the possibility of returning to compulsory military service if recruitment targets are not met. The bill is scheduled for a vote in Bundestag in December. Listen to this part very well. However, even deployment of a 4,000-man brigade in Lithuania is already facing difficulties. A lack of personnel and infrastructure is jeopardizing the fulfillment of its commitment. So even deploying a 4,000-man brigade is a problem. And you want to pick a fight with Russia? Really? These guys, I don't know what is wrong with them. It's very interesting time ahead. Listen to this part as well. Berlin's strategy demonstrates that Germany aspire to leading position of military architecture of NATO and Europe as a whole. However, the Federal Republic of Germany actual capabilities are challenged by personnel crisis. Why can't these people leave, the Russians alone? You see, Western Europeans brought this whole problem upon themselves. Why does NATO even exist in the first place? NATO was created purposely to counter Soviet Union threats. The Soviet Union is no more. So why does NATO exist? And why is NATO expanding eastward? What is their aim? What is their purpose? Why did they reject Russia into NATO back in the 2000s when Vladimir Putin, wanted to be part of NATO, when Vladimir Putin requested to be part of NATO? So clearly, you can see those who are pushing for war. Clearly, these guys are pushing for war. The Russians were never interested in war. If NATO is dissolved today, there will be peace. All these wars we are seeing in Europe will end. By the way, what do you think? Do you think that Germany stand a chance against the Russians? Do you think Germany can win against Russia? Because, reading the whole article, I realized that Germany is preparing to defeat Russia. If you think Germany can defeat Russia, type yes in the comment section. If you think Germany don't stand a chance, type no in the comment section. Shalom. See you guys in the next episode.